With Jeremy Doku destroying Bournemouth this afternoon, is it worth bringing in the City midfielder? And starting off today's video, I have outlined a player table. You know how much I love these. I've got all the key midfielders that I think people potentially might be looking to bring into their team. So Jeremy Doku, like I said, after his brilliant performance against Bournemouth, we've got Matoma with Brighton's good fixtures, Jarrod Bowen and Kudos, again, both on the score sheet, and again, both having really good fixtures, so worth potentially taking a look at them. And then Mbeumo continuing to pick up points, despite the fixtures not quite being there for Brentford, and continuing not to be there. But I thought these were a nice mix of players, some at different prices, mainly Jarrod Bowen being the most expensive on this list, but I will come on to talk about him a little bit later. Let's start off with the man on the thumbnail and the man who had a blinding performance against Bournemouth today. It is Jeremy Doku, picking up 4 assists and a goal, 20-point haul for Jeremy Doku, 6.5 million, only 1.4% owned at the time of recording. And the big question is, should I be looking to bring him in? Now, for me personally, City have got some really difficult fixtures coming up. They've got Chelsea, they've got Liverpool, they've got Tottenham, and they've got Aston Villa as the next 4. The 2 after that, Luton and Crystal Palace, definitely fixtures I would be looking to attack. And then it's a blank in game week. Is that game week 18? Game week 18 is a blank because City are off to the Club World Cup. But the Chelsea fixture, I think, is a positive one. I definitely think City could get something out of that game. Chelsea still seem to be a little bit of a mess, and definitely could see, City dominating that game and getting quite a comfortable win. The Liverpool one, again, that game could go either way. Same with the Tottenham one, and I think Villa will definitely put in a good test at home as well. I don't think it will be an easy performance for Manchester City. Unai Emery and his side look incredibly good at the moment. I think he'll definitely have a tactical plan to beat City during that match. So that will be a very interesting matchup. And again, not positive fixtures where I would expect City to be kind of demolishing teams like they did today against Bournemouth. And I feel like Jeremy Doku, for me personally, is one of Pep's top players that he's going to go to, especially off the back of today's performance. But I do feel like in the bigger games, we've seen this so far this season, is when he needs to control the ball a little bit, be a little bit more patient, a little bit more dominant, and kind of, play a little bit more attrition-based football. He does prefer to go for Jack Grealish, someone who's better at holding the ball, better at kind of retaining the possession and just moving the ball around. Jeremy Doku, very explosive, very much more likely to give away the ball against higher quality opposition defenders, in my personal opinion, and probably Pep's opinion as well. Not like we're saying we're like-minded, but we're pretty good tactically. So I think with the fixtures coming up for me, I don't think I'm going to be jumping on the Jeremy Doku hype train. From an eye test perspective, he is massively smashing it, and definitely a player I think, when City's fixtures do turn, potentially that one in game week 16 with Luton, I think Jeremy Doku could be an absolute masterstroke to potentially go for as a short-term punt. The double game week potential in game week 20 as well would be times I probably would be looking to bring him in, but we saw how ruthless Pep can be today with his rotation, potentially taking off Halland due to an injury, but we'll come on to talk about Halland a little bit later in the video. So Jeremy Doku, I think, is a good pick and definitely a player who's passing the eye test, but he's massively overperforming on his expected goal involvement, and the fixtures just aren't quite there for Manchester City. Some very difficult games coming up. I think next week Chelsea's fine, but the Liverpool, Tottenham and Villa games, I think we could see Grealish play in at least 2 of those. There's also Champions League coming up in midweek, so again we could see more rotation with Jeremy Doku. Moving over to Matoma, this is a player I have in my team, picked up a very fortunate assist today, deflected off Ashley Young's knee. Brighton don't look quite at the races at the moment. They look a little bit jarred, a little bit laggy. Sheffield United at home next. Obviously, they picked up their first win. What that's going to mean for them is going to be a huge, massive confidence booster. Then Nottingham Forest, then Chelsea, then Brentford, then Burnley. There's definitely some positive fixtures that I would like to own Matoma in. But I do feel like if I was a non-owner, I wouldn't be too worried. Look at the data that he's putting up over the past 5 game weeks. And, you're not really looking at anything amazing. 13 points. I don't feel like you're missing out. I think for me personally, I'm going to hold for 12 and 13 and then look to bring in Brian Mbeumo when he plays Luton in 14. But that's the plan for Matoma for me. If I was looking to bring him in, I don't think I would. I don't think that, I know the fixtures are there, but I still don't think I would bring him in my personal team if I didn't have him. Looking at the data, looking at where he's playing on the pitch, and looking at the eye test performances, as well. Moving on to the most expensive player on this list, and it is Jarrod Bowen. The fixtures for West Ham are very positive. Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Fulham, Wolves, and then United. Bowen is definitely a player I would be looking to buy. I think I do slightly prefer him over Kudos. I could see a little bit of potential rotation with the two. I think as well, if you look in terms of the expected goals involved, Jarrod Bowen is a lot more involved in the game. Kudos did score his wonder goal today, should have had 2 goals, but it just bounced off him and hit the post and then went to Jarrod Bowen, who did fortunately pick up a goal for his owners. Great away attacking returns as well, and you do expect another England call-up for Jarrod Bowen. So I think if I could afford either of the two, I would go for Bowen. I think he's got that slightly more kind of 90-minute nailed kind of ability about him over Kudos, but if you can't quite afford him and fancy going for a potential differential, a huge differential in Kudos, who's starting to break his way into the team, I definitely think that could be an option from game week 12 onwards. Like I said, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Fulham, and Wolves. Some definite positive fixtures there for West Ham. So a team I would be looking to target, and Bowen and Kudos would be the 2 attacking players I would be trying to get into my system. Finishing up this part of the video, we're going to talk about Bryan Mbeumo. Keeps picking up attacking returns. As you can see there, the highest expected goal involvement, 36 points. The highest points as well, 6.7 million for him. 2 goals, 3 assists over the past 5 game weeks. And the fixtures, they're not there. Let's be real, they're not quite there for Brentford and Bryan Mbeumo. Liverpool and Arsenal next are a really difficult pairing. So I think for me, I wouldn't be going for him this week. Game week 14 is the week that I've outlined in my own head. They've got Luton at home, then Brighton, who seem a little bit all over the place, then Sheffield United, then that Aston Villa, then blank. So probably at that point, you would be looking to potentially take him back out of the side. But I think for those 3 game weeks, definitely want the Luton and the Sheffield United fixtures in there, and I think he could be a really, really good option for those as well. On penalties, which is always a great asset, something that he has over all of these other players on this list is that penalty taking ability, because it can pop up in any single game, random moments, and it's just a great asset. You know I absolutely love it, and I do apologise as well if you can hear like fireworks in the background. It is, you know, it is the 4th, not the 5th, not quite yet, but you know, fireworks, all that stuff's happening this weekend. So yeah, apologies for that. But I think if I had to rank them in terms of players I would be looking to buy this week, I'd probably go Bowen, Kudos, Doku, Matoma, and Mbeumo in that order for me personally. I've put Doku above Matoma. I just think he's in a lot better form, playing for a lot better team. The fixtures are definitely there for Matoma, but at the moment, Brighton don't quite look at the races, nor does Matoma. Definitely missing Estupiñán. If he's back after the international break or just before, that does make him a lot better of an asset. But those were the players that I've identified, very similar to Jeremy Doku and potentially Jeremy Doku himself. Let's talk about the next point, which is what we should do with Erling Haaland. And finishing up today's video, I thought we would have a section talking about Erling Haaland, and what the plans are for me and my personal team and what we are going to do. Like we said with Jeremy Doku, the fixtures for City, they're quite difficult. The Chelsea fixture, I think, can be excluded. I think City will win that game quite comfortably as well. But then we're looking at teams like Liverpool, Spurs and Aston Villa. Very good teams so far in this year in the Premier League. Definitely going to frustrate and limit Erling Haaland. But, you know, as you can see from the past 5 game weeks, still picking up goals, still picking up good data. He is the highest expected point scorer, according to DraftHound as well, with 25.5 points predicted over the next few weeks, despite the terrible fixtures for Manchester City. It's just whether or not we've got the balls to potentially go without him. Now, he did apparently limp off during the Manchester City game. I didn't personally see it. I watched bits of the game. If you were along for the watch along stream, I didn't see him limping at all. So maybe it is more a tactical thing for the Champions League. Obviously that's in midweek, so we'll see whether or not he plays in that one. If we get kind of news that he's out for longer term, that definitely does open up quite a few doors. Obviously with the injury news as well, it's all going to be dependent on the time frame, because we'd have to remember after game week 12, there is an international break. So if he doesn't go on that, and it's maybe like just a pulled muscle or something like that, or something kind of small, maybe a little strain or something like that, he could be back for that Liverpool game, and we never know what could happen. Haaland's a player, like we've seen, can perform in the top games. We saw that last week against Manchester United, performed in the derby when no one kind of expected him to pick up points, and he did deliver. I definitely think there is room to potentially go without Haaland if that injury is more long term, and I think if you wanted to play the fixtures and maybe look to bring him back in for game week 16 when they play Luton, that could be an option. That definitely could be an option that you potentially could go down that route for. But if we're looking at other top teams and ways that we could potentially utilise that money, we're looking at Newcastle. Okay, they got Bournemouth next week, but then they got Chelsea, United, Everton, Tottenham. There's some definite difficult fixtures in there for them. Spurs have got Wolves, then Villa, then City. So again, can we really utilise that money to potentially get Son? Probably not. Chelsea have got City and Newcastle. Arsenal's probably the team where I would like to utilise some of that budget. Maybe get Saka, so go Nketiah down to Saka would be the way that I would potentially go around it if Erling Haaland is injured. I think if he's not injured, I think I'm going to keep him. I do think I'm going to keep him in the game because I can't realistically see a way that not having him in is going to make my team better at the moment. I can't quite see that plan kind of working out. I've got everyone in my team I would like to have in my team. That midfield for me is quite balanced as well. I would like to get Saka in there, but there's not really a clear and easy kind of strategy to get him in, so I don't know how I would go about that. Maybe that is the move then, maybe downgrading Haaland to Nketiah and then one of my midfielders up to Saka. But again, the question would be then, how would I get back to Erling Haaland? It's definitely a difficult one, so we will wait and see for injury news. Let me know what your plans are for Erling Haaland down in the comments, and if you've got any general questions about game week 12, get them in there as well. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you did enjoy all the content that we posted today. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and good luck for game week 12.